Hey guys, hope you're good. Welcome back to the Strong Girl Goss podcast. Hope you're well. Today we have got a very seasonal episode for you. We're going to be taking you through our 5 top tips to stay motivated in the colder months. But before we do that, we're going to go for our win of the week. So Jess, what was yours?
My win of the week is actually a training win this week. So box jumps give me the fear, to be honest, and that's just because I've scraped both my shins in the past and I've still got scars to this day years later, so not to make it off or anything, but I actually did. I managed to get a single leg box jump done, which has been defeating me for about a month now. I've just been fearful of it, but the other day I managed it, so that is a training win this week and an overall win, I guess. What about yours?
Nice. Well, it was my birthday on Friday and I was in Dublin for the weekend, which was so good. And I was getting in 20,000 steps a day.
That's a win.
That is a win. Like, double what the Instagurus tell me to do.
Hopefully, you had some birthday cake as well.
Birthday cheesecake I had, to be fair. So that was another win.
Yeah.
Right, let's crack on. So, motivation in the colder months. Jess, what's your number one tip?
Okay, so starting off first of all, I guess, with a tip, but also a bit of a pep talk. Like, why we rely on motivation. We all know that motivation is a feeling and it comes and goes. And you know what? It's amazing when you do feel motivated. Absolutely love that feeling. But let's be honest, especially as the night gets colder, they get shorter, gets darker. Motivation is honestly just next to none. So we want to make sure that we're not relying on motivation. And I'm not going to say rely on discipline instead, because I know that's what you're all expecting. But what I am going to say is lean into the other 4 tips that we're going to be going through in a second over that motivation feeling. So I cannot stress enough how much relying on motivation is going to hinder your progress.
Definitely. I'm literally probably motivated once every 2 weeks, if that. Like you say, the rest of the tips that we're going to give today is really what keeps me going back to the gym, rather than motivation. So going on to number 2, plan ahead. Like we say, motivation comes in waves, right? But if you have a set plan that you know you're going to do that week for training, for nutrition, whatever it is, you are most likely going to show up and do it. So first thing with planning, meal prep. Meal prepping on the weekends, just making sure that you are getting in your protein, your carbs, your pre-workout, your post-workout, making sure that your training is fueled, because if you haven't got any energy, if you're not fueling your training, you're not going to want to go.
Even just to the extent of planning, getting your workout clothes out ready. Like, I know that might sound very far-fetched, but it's the small things that you do that will make the biggest difference. So if I know that if I've got to be training first thing in the morning, the evening before, I'm laying out my workout clothes and getting my gym bag ready, and I'm making sure that I'm as organised as possible. Sometimes even go to the extent of getting the breakfast bowl out with the spoon in, obviously not with the content in, that would be a bit gross, but literally just making things so easy. Water bottles out on the side, so in the morning, you know, you've just got to go fill it up. It is just about like preparation the best as possible that will set you up for success. So if you are waiting until like the day of, it can be so easy to snooze the alarm and be like, you know what, the gym can wait. If you know that your workout clothes are all ready, it just makes it that tiny bit easier. So those small things can make a huge difference.
Yeah, and also scheduling your workouts as well, like whether that is in the morning or the evening. You guys will know yourself in that, you know, when it gets darker, am I better in the morning? Am I better after work, in the evening? But scheduling it so that you know you're not going to snooze that alarm, because actually I've scheduled in my calendar, I'm going to train on a Monday morning and I don't have any wiggle room in the week, because most of us are busy. If you don't get it in at that point, likelihood is that session's going to be lost. So scheduling it in and making sure that you've actually got time in the week, rather than just being like, oh, I'll see when I can fit it in, because I always find that's just a recipe for disaster.
My favourite tip, it's so simple, but I always say treat your training sessions as appointments. Like, you wouldn't not show up to your nail lady because you'd have to pay the fine. You'd have to pay the fee for not showing up, if you know what I mean. So it's the exact same with your workouts. Like, treat them as appointments. Like, show up regardless. And yes, sometimes they might need to move left or right, but by scheduling in, like you say, and planning ahead, you can see ahead of, okay, I'm not going to train Tuesday morning because I'm so busy. You can make sure that you move it to, let's say, Wednesday afternoon when you are less busy. So it's just about being super organized. I like to plan my training sessions in on a Sunday ahead of the week, so I know that everything's going to get done. Yes, sometimes they occasionally have to move left or right, but 9 times out of 10, I stick to those scheduled times because I've literally put them in my calendar, put them in my diary, or I've just put them in my mind, and I know that that's when I need to show up. So super small tip, but it's really, really effective. If you're not doing that, you need to be doing that.
Yeah. All right, number 3.
Okay, so number 3, make it fun. Give yourself an incentive. And what I mean by make it fun is if you know that you are lacking motivation and you are really struggling to get yourself to your training session, grab yourself a workout buddy. Take your friend to the gym with you. Can you book onto a class? If you're noticing that you are lacking motivation, then what can you do to make it easier for yourself? What can you do to make it more enjoyable? Or maybe it's giving yourself an incentive. Maybe it's going to the gym first thing in the morning, but you know that you're going to reward yourself or treat yourself with like a post-workout coffee or just something to make it a bit more fun and exciting. There is definitely nothing wrong with rewarding yourself. I think, especially if it's going to get you there, it can be a really helpful tool to really just stop relying on motivation and just knowing that you've got a little reward and something exciting to look forward to, whether that's, like I say, going to the gym with your friend during, or the reward afterwards of getting a little treat or something.
So anyone knows me, I really struggle with running, and with my training at the moment, I've been running once a week. And last week I ran to my nail appointment. So I was like, I'll get my nails done and then I'll run back and it won't be so bad. And it wasn't. So it's just like making ways almost to like trick yourself into it. And it's that delayed gratification as well, isn't it? Like you could easily sit down and have a gorgeous coffee before your training session. But if you say, no, I'll have that after, that coffee is going to taste so much better, in my opinion.
I love that. And that's actually just reminded me of something that I did earlier this week. I have been working towards a step target at the moment because actually before we started this episode, me and Ella was just talking about how difficult it actually is when you are doing like a sit down job compared to, for me, when I used to be in the gym and on my feet and constantly active all the time. You do have to be mindful of how much you are moving. And I've noticed that my step count is something that's definitely took a hit. So I've set myself like a little target to work towards a certain step target. And the other day, it was raining, it was cold, I didn't want to go out and go for a walk. So what I actually did instead is I made myself a hot chocolate. And I'm not someone that can drink a drink when it's like burning hot. So I set it on the side and I went round the block. So when I got back, the hot chocolate would be a perfect temperature. And I thought that was such a good way to trick the brain because I'm like, right, okay, like I know that when I get back, that'll be a perfect temperature. I can either sit here, burn my mouth and wait for it to cool down, or I can use that as a challenge. It was almost like a challenge in my brain to be like, can you get round that block and not make it go cold? Stupid, but again, it's just small things like how can you reward yourself, how can you make it more exciting, and just like you said there, running to your nail appointment, it's almost like how can you double up on the productivity of things and just get things done.
Yeah, it's like tricking yourself into it. Okay, number 4, something that me and Jess both do, we are massive advocates of: get a program to stick to. I think having a program, especially at this time of year, is just going to keep you going back to the gym. It gives you accountability. You're going to not want to miss what's on your program, right? So if I'm going into the gym winging it, just kind of seeing what I'm doing, being like, oh, there's that machine free, there's that machine free, I might do this, might do that. You've not really got much progress there to refer back to. But if I have my structured program written by a professional, I'm going to go in and I'm going to be like, right, I know that this week I've got 2 less reps to do on my back squat. That means I want to add 2.5 kilos and I do not want to miss that. It's just having that extra bit of accountability there and that little bit of structure to almost make missing the gym harder than make going, if that makes sense. Like, you know that missing that session will mean that you're almost like a week behind on that part of your programming.
Yeah, I think having a program is key for so many factors, but especially for motivation. Like you say, if you know you've got something written there, you know exactly what to do, you know what your expectations are, it would almost cause you more problems, like I say, to not turn up. and not get it done because you know that you'd be behind, especially if you are also paying for something, because it can be that accountability. Like, I'm paying for this, like I want to make the most out of it. Or even if that is just like a free program that you have found, it's still the accountability there. So big fan of having a program for your accountability. But that leads us nicely on to the last one, number 5, of goal setting.
So kind of like overlaps with your program, because your program will be leading you, if it's a good one, it'll be leading you towards certain goals. Now, I would say at this time of year especially, set some goals between now and the end of the year that are achievable, that aren't going to stress you out, but that are just going to keep you showing up. Maybe it's getting the lighter band on a chin-up. You're going to the gym knowing that that's the goal, knowing that at the end of the year, you're going to be a bit disappointed if you're not doing a chin-up on that lighter band. It's keeping yourself accountable and having something for future you to look back on and go, oh, I did that, and make yourself feel really good.
Yeah, and even goal setting in the terms of setting yourself like mini habit goals as well. So maybe you've got mini daily goals to drink your water, or like I was just saying, you've got a little step target to work towards, something just to keep you motivated and to keep you on it, and almost just having yourself like a little mini checklist of every day that goes, okay, have I done this today? And it's not the end of the world if you skip a day or something, you know, sometimes life starts life in. But if you've got something that you are going to be sticking with at least 80% of the time, I think that will really help. And just going back to what you were saying about goal setting for almost like performance with your training, that is also going to be key to get you to your training sessions and to actually get you to the gym. So yeah, I'm a big fan of goal setting. To be honest, a goal set for literally everything. Business, training, literally everything. If I don't have goals to work towards, I'm like, what's the purpose? Why am I doing this?
Yeah, literally. And I think you can, when you're going to the gym, especially at this time of year, you can just be like, why am I doing this? Or you can almost, especially if you're copying TikTok workouts or something like that, you find yourself almost aiming for the goals that other people are aiming for, and you're like not motivated because actually that's not your goals, and you're doing training sessions that don't relate to what you want to achieve. So I would say just sit down, have a think about, okay, what actually do I want to achieve in my training? How do I want to feel at the end of the year? How do I want to feel on a daily basis? Like you say, with your water, with your steps, like all of that goes towards that whole topic of motivation and staying on top of things, and not relying on whether you feel like doing something, but just drinking the water or doing the steps because that's just what you do, and that's in your calendar, and that's part of your goal.
I think that's such an important reminder to finish on. Like, make sure that the goals that you are doing are for you. So whatever goals that you are setting, it's to serve a bigger purpose for you. Going back to the whole topic of this episode, tips to stay motivated throughout the winter months. If you can tailor those goals to serve you a purpose, it's going to be so much more easier to stay motivated during these winter months, because we get it, by the way. We understand that we're also human. Like I was just saying about tricking my brain with a little hot chocolate tip. Sometimes I don't want to go out walking and go and get my steps in when it's raining and it's freezing and it's dark. And honestly, Netflix is just screaming my name. But sometimes you just have to think about, okay, what are my goals? What am I doing this for? And always bring it back to that. Bring it back to the bigger vision. Bring it back to the purpose of why you're doing it. And I think that is what is going to keep you on it throughout this season.
And guys, if you need some help staying on track, me and Jess are launching a free habit tracking challenge at the end of the month. So make sure you're following us both on socials for that, and we'll give you more details. But have a lovely week. We hope that you've got something from this podcast. As always, like, subscribe, follow, and leave a review if you can. And also let us know if there's anything you want us to cover. I know a couple of you have been in touch, but it's always helpful to see what you guys want to hear so that we can tailor this for you, because it is literally for you.
And head to the description box to come and join the free Facebook community group, which we'll be launching the challenge inside of, and also just an opportunity for you to connect with other like-minded people to keep motivated during this season. But other than that, thank you so much, guys, for listening, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.